Hi guys, today I would like to introduce you to 5 AF bows. So let's begin with this one here. This is the AF Tatar Oak. It sells on their website for $239 US dollars including shipping, or you can also order from us. We'll give you a discount for that. So have a look at the sear. AF actually make very efficient bows for their price. This piece is actually plastic, and I believe the same is here. I'm not sure exactly what material they use here, but since the color looks the same, I think this is also plastic. The glass they use here is China clear fiberglass, so there's actually cloudiness. You can, when you look at this one, it doesn't look clear like bear paw. There is some cloudiness to this one, but it doesn't affect your performance. So I would say that this bow is actually recommendable. The smoothness is okay. The glass doesn't affect the smoothness, it's the geometry. So smoothness is there, efficiency is there, speed is there. Hand shot and vibration, it does have a little bit, but for what it is, the price, I would say this bow is good. It's actually a very, very good value for what it is. I do have some complaint. Like sometimes they use a different way to tie up the leather. In this recent one that I got here, I didn't like the way they close this up. So when I hold it, this part doesn't feel as good. But sometimes they use a different way to do it, so the leather always change. I do not know what I'm gonna get. This particular one, not my favorite. It works, just could have been better. Let me show you how it looks like when you pull it back. Okay, the draw profile. The bow itself is 49 inches strung length, tip to tip. Okay, tip to tip. The max draw length, even though on their website would say 32, but personally I would recommend like 31. Okay, so this one being one of the more popular one, if you're on a budget, definitely I can recommend this one. It is a little bit twisty though, a little bit twisty because in order to make this efficient, this is actually very narrow, so it can be a bit of twisty. Not bad. I mean, every time you string the bow, just make sure you check for straightness. If there's a problem, just bend it with your hand. Otherwise, it's a good bow, not bad, good value. The second bow, the Sultan bow, AF Sultan. So have a look. This is how it looks like, and the drawn profile. The bow is actually pretty good. I would say it's pretty good, and at this point there is still promotion, so you can actually get it from us for very good price, very, very good price. I mean, if you want to buy it direct from AF, no problem, you pay more, $299 including shipping from AF's website. So this bow actually is an updated version of the Çeyre, the Turkish Çeyre. So the length is about the same, it's about 46.5 inch. The max draw length is actually, even though advertised as 32 on the website, in actual, it actually draws up to 30 inch. Can you draw longer? Absolutely. You can force it to 32. It won't break, but the bow is actually struggling. It is stacking like hell. So I wouldn't recommend drawing past 30 because you're like fighting against the bow, and that is not the point of archery, right? This bow is actually technically designed for 30-inch draw. If you draw more, you can force the bow. It's just not great for it. Okay, so what have they updated on this one now? There are actually quite a few updates, and they are quite interesting. So let's start off comparing the sear. The normal Çeyre or the Turkish actually had this kind of design. On the Sultan, they make it square, which is not a big deal. It's just small details. But I want to have a look at the size of this, the thickness of this sear. They actually make it narrower, thinner, so that it's lighter and more efficient. The bridge is still the same plastic piece. Now, they actually increased the angle of the sear. Okay, this angle here has been increased. So how do I know? Because the bow became more twisty. So by increasing the angle here, you do get the benefit of increased energy storage, smoothness, but it causes, it gives more leverage on the limb as a result. This is actually easier to twist. So when I strung the bow up for the first time, I do notice when I pull it back, oh, it is a bit twisty, which is why this bow, they have to add a D-flex in the limb. So let me unstring and you can see what I'm referring to. So yeah, look at the kink here. So this is a D-flex. Some people say, oh, maybe, you know, by increasing this D-flex here, giving it D-flex, maybe the bow draw further and draw smoother. No, it doesn't, because the smoothness of the draw is really a geometry of the bow. It depends on the geometry, like the sear in relation to the limb, in relation to the string. It has nothing to do with this D-flex here. So it will not improve the smoothness of the draw. In fact, it really does not much other than giving you stability at a cost of performance. So why is that? Okay, so now you know that the angle here, I already said just now, they increased it, giving it more energy storage, and thinner sear here actually gives it better cast efficiency, so the bow actually draws smoother, casts better. But this one here, the angle being increased, it gives me more leverage to bend the bow. Okay, as a result, this is easy to twist sideways. So to fix this, they give it this D-flex. So what does D-flex do actually? Well, when you relax the bow this way towards this side, you actually lose poundage. I mean, quite obvious, right? When you pull it back, right, you increase the poundage. The more it moves, the more poundage you get. So by relaxing more towards the archer, this is going to bend less when you pull back. So you actually get less poundage out of the same limb. So to get the same poundage, you now have to compensate by making the limb thicker. And when you do that, the thicker limb provides stability, extra torsional resistance. So this is because of this. Okay, the change here result in the need for this. Now this one here in my hand is 25 pounds. You can have a look just how thin this limb is compared to my finger. Right, my finger and the limb, super thin. So for people who ask, oh, can you make the bow like reflex, like horn bow, like bow shape? Yes, you can. You absolutely can do it with modern material. Okay, not just horn bow, modern material, fiberglass, they can do it. The only reason we don't do it is because if you curve this into an O shape, the problem now, your limb here is paper thin. It's so thin, it's super easy to twist. And if you're gonna do this for like a business, you know, sell it to customers, you do not want, like, you know, you sell 10 bows and all 10 bows come back with warranty. That would be bad for business. So this kind of decision here is to stabilize the bow so that, you know, you get less complaint. Okay, the arrow pass is actually a bit wider than usual. So have a look. It's a little bit wider. Okay, a little bit wider. So it's not bad, just a little bit. On this one here is 19 mil, and the handle is substantial. This handle is huge. Let me show again and the other bow. Okay, so let's look at this. This is substantially fatter. Okay, so like on this one here, if you hold it, it just feels like kind of hollow. Wow, this one here, it really feels like an egg in your hand. It's really substantial. So there is a good thing about this one. So the increased size here give it more mass at the handle, which reduces hand shock. So now you have increased energy storage, you have increased cast efficiency by making it lighter here. Although you do have a kink to stabilize this change, you also have this heavier handle to reduce hand shock and vibration. So I would say the overall combination is actually pretty good. Although I have to complain a bit with the paint job. I don't really like this paint job. Some people may like it, I don't know. Like let's say this pattern here. On some units it comes in brighter. On some units it comes in like that, very dull. But it looks like paint, okay? It doesn't look, it tries to imitate like hornbow or whatever, but when you look at it, it is paint. It looks like paint, okay? And I don't like the way it looks. So, like all this, you actually can see some smearing. Not very obvious, especially I don't think the camera can catch it very well, but there is some like a bit of smearing towards the edges of this black and red. Not bad, it's just like, you know, when you spray paint, basically the way it's done, you just put like some sort of mask and then just spray, and sometimes those spray particles, they kind of go a little bit up to the side, and that's why you get this kind of little bit fuzziness towards the edge. It looks alright. I mean, for the price it looks alright, but I actually prefer the bowl looking natural. Just clear glass, you know, look at the wood, it will look great, but paint, I'm not a big fan of paint. Otherwise, this bow is actually pretty good. Draw smooth, efficient, a bit twisty though, a bit twisty. So when you string this bow up, make sure you check for straightness, correct it if necessary before you actually draw it. That's pretty much the only complaint other than the paint job. I mean, paint job is up to individual, right? You might like it, you may not like it. So twist is the one that you definitely have to check every time you string the bow up. Okay, so that would be the second bow, the Sultan bow. Now the third bow, ooh, this one is actually quite an interesting one. The Persian Crackle. Okay, this Persian Crackle, I have to give you the bad news first. As far as I know, as of this video, this has been discontinued. Okay, they have discontinued this one. And after receiving the bow, I look at it and I kinda have an idea why they will discontinue this bow. This bow is extremely stressed out. Okay, it's extremely stressed out. If you want to look at the speed and just people shooting these bows, you can always search for Armin Hammer videos. He do a lot of videos, and you can see him shooting chrono and all that. I'm telling you things that you don't hear from him, things that you're probably quite concerned about. Right, so standard, this kind of design, right? Now, let me give it some praise first, right? The way this Sia is designed is actually really, really efficient considering the size of this Sia here. Just look at the size. Okay, I'm holding the tip, the apex here, compared to, let's say, this. Okay, so this is actually considered a long Sia bow. That Sia here is massive and it's extremely curved, but they are able to reduce the weight so much because of how they built this. Just, you see how narrow it gets? So narrow here, and it gets widened again. Okay, so there's actually very little weight on such a large Sia. So I have to praise that. Whoever designed this bow in AF's factory deserves a raise. This is actually a really, really well designed Sia. And they also have this integrated bridge which stabilizes the string, because this bow, okay, is not AF's fault, but this design in particular is easy to twist because of how massive and curved this Sia is. So it is easy to twist, but AF managed to actually stabilize it pretty well. In terms of draw characteristics, I would say that this bow actually does stack. pretty soon, pretty soon. Like for example, if I were to compare with the Sultan bow is shorter than this bow. Okay, this one here is like 49 inch, the Sultan is like 46.5 inch, but both of them draws to 30 inch. Past 30 inch, this bow, like, probably it feels like destroying itself. It is struggling. So because of how deflex this limb is, it starts at such a steep angle already, so it cannot be pulled further back. As you pull further, it goes inwards towards itself, it will actually shorten the draw length. So that's why this bow kind of like max out at 30 inch. It is quite stacky towards the back. Up to 30, it's fine. Once you pass, the effect comes very, very abrupt. So you can feel the stack quite strong. Okay, so there's nothing much I would say about the handle, just standard. I mean, it's discontinued anyway, nothing much to talk about it. But I just want to mention about this particular design, because I've seen people saying like, oh, such a curved bow, almost like a super recurve, it must be super smooth and all. No, absolutely not. In fact, if you look at it from a super recurve point of view, this bow is an absolute failure. Okay, because you see, if you want to make a super recurve, you want to have as much energy storage as possible. You want to build a poundage as quick as possible and then flatten out towards the rear, towards the back. This one doesn't do it. The problem has to do with this angle. You start with such a steep angle already, there's really not much you can move. So that's why when you put so much deflex in the bow, it doesn't make the bow draw further. It doesn't make the bow draw smoother. What it does is actually quite the opposite of what you want. It makes the bow stackier. Okay, it makes the bow stackier, it makes the bow less efficient. So you might wonder, wow, if it's such a bad way to design a bow, okay, it is a bad way to design a bow, then why would you want to do it? From my own analysis, it may not be true, okay? I may be wrong about this one, but from what I understand and what I know, I think this design here is actually a compromise when you have to shoot over a wall, an obstacle. I mean, imagine now you're on a wall, defensive wall, and you're shooting down. So you have this, on a castle wall, you have this kind of this shape, right? I do not know what it's called, but it's U-shape in a wall. So as you want to shoot out, if you use, let's say, this bow, right? The problem now, as you shoot, this is gonna very likely whack against the wall, whereas this design here, by moving this in, you are likely to avoid smashing into wall. You see, it creates a good gap here. You don't smash into things. So I believe the reason why this is designed this way is because of defense. You want to pull back like that and shoot down from the wall without smashing your bow. That is why they have to compromise. But in terms of whether it's a great bow or not, not very good, not that good, okay? The entire design, the concept, that it's just the opposite of what you want, okay? It's opposite of what a good bow would be. So this compromise here is probably, in my opinion, because of defense on a wall, shooting down. Now this one here is actually very, very stressed, so stressed that I'm actually very, very concerned. I'm very concerned with this particular area here. Quite obvious, right? When you look at the whole bow, you'll definitely be worried about this part. When I receive the bow and when I pay attention to the glass inside here, I already start to see some stress mark on the glass. So this is pretty much the maximum that it can bend the glass. Okay, very, very steep. I'm actually even afraid to leave it strung. Normally when I got my bows, I just string it and I leave it. I literally leave it for weeks, months, I don't care. There's no problem with the bows. This one I don't even dare to leave it overnight because of how stressed the glass is. Okay, but otherwise, in terms of the nature of the bow, the nature of the design is not a great design. There's a lot of bows that can do better. more smooth, more energy storage, can be drawn further, smoother, etc. This design not great, but AF did a great job to replicate this particular style of bow. Okay, so give credits to AF, although they discontinued it because probably I'm just guessing, there are issues here. Okay, so if you have this bow, you are an owner of one of these bow, I do recommend that you buying this section here, from this apex here, buying this bow up, because this is where it's very likely to fail. Okay, next bow. Now next one, we actually have a pair of bows. Now both of these are actually the Babylon, the AF Assyrian Babylon bow. The difference is, this one here is a glass laminated bamboo core. At least that's what they say. Yeah, bamboo core. This one here is a carbon ceramic version of the very same bow. And I can tell you that one of the reasons that I actually bought this, or actually these two bows, I bought it from my students, because when I went to one of the competition and I saw this bow, I'm like, woo, wow, this bow is very efficiently designed. Let's look at the look at the sear. Oh my goodness, let me show you my finger. Oh my god, look at how thin this is. This is so thin, I'm scared myself. Alright, I do not know if this is going to be durable or not. I'm scared with this one because it's so thin. It is like 6 millimeters, 6 mm. If there is a 1 mil bubble in there, you are losing 16% of the strength of the glue. That's why normally they'll make it a bit wider so that in case there's defect in glue, it's not going to delaminate as easily. But this one here, oh, this is, I mean, it's pretty nice. It's thin, super thin, very efficient. Just, oh, look at such beautiful thin sear. And look at the back, the belly. Very thin, like crazy. This is crazy. My finger, okay, my thumb. Oh, jeez, this is really crazy. The weight on this sear here, this is probably the lightest sear I've seen. Okay, very efficient sear here. It does come at some risk. Okay, it does come at some risk. So I'm not gonna say like, oh, AF bow, just because I sell AF bow doesn't mean that I'm gonna say AF bow is the best of everything. This is definitely a compromise here. You see, making the bow as thin, as fragile as possible. Okay, you get the bow to be very efficient, and they can sell it for a cheap price because the bow is unlikely to survive for a long time. Okay, I'm gonna tell you honestly here, this bow is probably designed such that, you know, maybe in a year or so, it may break. Okay, it may break, so don't be surprised. And then you buy a new one. That's how consumerism works, right? You break it, you buy a new one, you break another, you buy a new one. So that's why they are not very expensive, and they'll give you what you want. You want it to be as efficient as possible. Well, you get it, very efficient, good price, though it will be a bit fragile, very fragile. Just look at how thin this is. Okay, now surprisingly, this bow is very stable. Okay, like you might wonder, oh, such thin, it must be like flimsy and easy to twist. Oh no, it's actually not, because you see the angle here, it's not that steep at all. It's quite straight. So this bow is actually very stable in terms of twist. Arrow pass is actually quite narrow, and grip is comfortable. I do feel that this version here, the glass one, actually feels more comfortable. It feels larger, so it feels my hand up better. This one actually feels super hollow. It's like the hole is so small. So I actually prefer this one here than this. But let's show you again. This is how it looks like. Okay. Now there's some extra info I want to provide in terms of the limb. these two configurations. So let's start with this one here. I believe the length here is 58 inches from tip to tip. It advertised with a 34-inch max draw. Okay, 34-inch max draw. Now, the bamboo version is actually my more recommended version. Okay, why? I'll tell the disadvantage of that one later. Okay, so when you put it back, fiberglass is actually more flexible than carbon. Okay, so this version is more likely to be more durable. I'm saying more likely, okay, because there's always exception, right? Maybe you got a good unit for the carbon one, I don't know. But generally, statistically, this is going to be the more durable, especially if you go with higher poundage and a longer draw length. Okay, the glass one. Also, this is actually cheaper. This is actually the cheaper one. So I say that this is actually far better in value. So have a look again, the whole bowl. It's quite a large bowl, right? It's quite a large bowl. And look, it's very nice, very, very smooth. I do like it. I should recommend this one to a lot of people, although a lot of people complain that it's too big. Now I'm going to show you the carbon again. So the carbon ceramic, okay, the core in this case is actually ceramic. You see the white one, the white color, that's ceramic. And then the black is carbon. So on this side though, okay, so because when I say carbon, in your mind you probably think, oh, it would have this weave pattern on the surface, right? Okay, no, not all of them. So on the belly side, flat black, because this is only unidirectional carbon. On the back, we have underneath unidirectional, and on the top is a weave. So you do see this weave pattern on only the back. Okay, so you see, even though it's black on both sides, the pattern only appears on the back, not on the belly side. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you the disadvantage of this particular one. It is easier to crack. So I mean, if you've watched my other videos talking about carbon ceramic, right? So you see, carbon and ceramic, you have to use it more correctly. Very specific situations. If you use it correctly, it will be great. If you use it wrongly, it will be catastrophic. So I'll show you the one that is actually designed around the weaknesses of the material. So we utilize the material more efficiently. You know, put material where you can utilize its strength, and avoid the material where it will be weak in those spots. So this is the Yuan version. Well, I won't say Yuan. Actually, it's we changed the design. So okay, bamboo archery's version, made by Yuan. Okay, so in this case, it's also carbon ceramic, but with carbon here, we do have a ceramic foam. In this case, it's gray, so it's not very obvious. It's under the carbon. And then on this side, you can see it's glass and wood. Why? Ceramic foam is really, really poor under compression. So wood is actually stronger than foam under compression. So in this case, when you put it back, this being compressed, that ceramic foam can crack. Okay, with higher poundage, your risk increases. Also, why we use glass on this side? Glass is better under compression. Carbon has a very low compressive strain limit. So having carbon here, and they didn't consider the difference in thickness, that one we considered everything. The orientation, the thickness, so that the bowl will have minimum fatigue. This one didn't consider it. Just slap carbon on, slap ceramic on, then sell it. The result is after about a year or so, depending on how frequent you use. I mean, if you don't shoot it frequently, fine. If you shoot it frequently though, the carbon belly here is going to experience fatigue. And therefore, I've actually heard a lot of complaints from a lot of people, especially on the higher poundages. The belly is gonna crack, it's gonna give. So the bow itself, well designed, stable, smooth, but in terms of the details of how they laminate it, a little bit lacking. So on a lower poundage, like I would say up to 40 pounds, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, okay. I would say this bow is okay. 45, 50, probably not. I would recommend the glass bamboo version. With the higher poundages, this would be risky. Okay, this is definitely the riskier one. But otherwise, this bow is pretty good. It is actually really efficient. Like usually, efficient bows are the expensive one, right? In this case, it's actually not that bad at all. The price is pretty good. On AF's website, this one sells for $3.99. You can get it cheaper from us. A little bit, you can save some money. The glass version is even cheaper. It's not available on the website, but you can get it from us. Just hit the description. I'll put a link to my page and maybe my phone number. So if you want to get it for cheaper, let me know. Okay, so otherwise, this bow is pretty good. Just avoid the higher poundage.